Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Atlanta Thrashers franchise mode here in NHL 21. So in last episode, we had a very busy free agency, like one of the busiest free agencies I think I've ever had. We signed I think it was like 13 free agents in the offseason. So this team is a lot different than it was last year, and we're off to a pretty good start. As you can see, 13-6-3-2 and 6-3-0-1 in our last 10. Our top guns are producing pretty good, except for it seems like Heatley and Kovalchuk are struggling quite a bit. Kovalchuk's only got 4 goals in 24 games, which is really uncharacteristic of him. As you can see, he's had like 20 goal seasons before. So I'm hoping he kind of picks it up a bit as the season goes on. And then Danny Heatley's only got 1 goal so far on the season, which is a little bit concerning as well, considering he had 28 a few years ago. So we are going to make a small line change. We're not going to be making any trades though yet this episode, because I just want your guys' feedback for the trade deadline, which is probably where we're going to go up to in this episode. But I am going to make some subtle line changes, which is going to be putting Heatley down to this second line with Malkin and Savard, and then giving Kuznetsov some top line ice time, which is a little bit weird. But we're going to just do that just so to kind of break up Heatley and Kovalchuk, and then maybe one of them will score more than the other. And besides, Heatley's a way better fit on the second line than he is on the top line. So that is what we're going to do for changes. Now, I do have one comment I'd like to go over before we actually start simulating, and it's just a basic one from Hawksfan88, who says, I wouldn't make any changes to the team as they seem to be doing fairly well, so we aren't going to be making any changes just yet, but I will probably stop simulating just before the trade deadline, just so you guys can give me some feedback for next episode. So, yeah, let's start our simulating. We're not going to simulate too fast in this, or else we're going to have like a very short episode, which is not what I really want. So we will go to the 15th and just see if this team can win some more games. There's a win over Nashville, a loss to Pittsburgh. Okay. Game against Boston, and we lose 6-3. And we're kind of playing like how we started the season, but we are struggling a little bit. We're getting offered a top 6 forward prospect and a second round pick for Brian Leach III and Robert Svala. That's a lot to give up, but I mean, if this team wasn't playing good, I would definitely do this, I think. Because Heinonen, what is his name? Yeah, Heinonen. This guy was drafted in the first round. He's got some pretty good attributes, actually. His slap shot accuracy is not good, but the rest of it is pretty good. That's an interesting player. But we're not going to do that trade just because the fact that I don't know how this team's going to be closer to the deadline, and I would like to wait just to be sure we're not actually a playoff team before trading away a lot of our good players. So 16-11-3-2 is not great. We are starting to slide a little bit, it looks like, but we are still top in our division, which I don't understand how, because this record is not really that great of a record. And it looks like Mark Savard, our leading point man, has kind of slowed down in point production a bit since Heatley's been dropped to the second line, which is a little weird. But yeah, let's see if we can get some wins going. I don't know why this team is a little bit struggling as of late, because we do have 4 losses in our last 6 games, it looks like, if my math is correct. Let's go to the 1st of January. See if this team can win some games. And Salmik's been injured till December 23rd. At least it's not too long term. There's a nice 7-6 win over the Detroit Red Wings, which is a pretty big accomplishment because Detroit is a very good team. And we'll put Salmik back into our 4th line with Avery and Schaefer, which is playing not that great defensively, actually. I should maybe change that up a little bit. So maybe we'll change Salmik and Hossa around. And yeah, we'll probably do something like that. I mean, I could move Maltby down, but I don't know if I really want to do that, because Maltby's like the best option for faceoffs. Like, we don't really have a third line center, so maybe that's one thing we want to look for when we actually get to the trade deadline for next episode, because we don't really have that guy that could play faceoffs down there. Like, Kuznetsov probably could play third line center, actually. You know, we're going to make some rapid line adjustments. We're going to put Heatley to the top line. We're going to move Kuznetsov down to the third line as the center, just because we don't really have a center down there. And then we will try running Marcel Hossa up there again with Malkin and Savard. Move Maltby to that wing. Okay, that looks a little bit better. That way we actually have somebody that could win faceoffs on that third line center, because if they're not winning faceoffs, like if Maltby was struggling on the draw, then maybe that's why we're allowing a lot of goals against. Yeah, he was not doing good on the faceoffs at all, 40.86%. So hopefully Kuznetsov could be a little bit of a better faceoff man on that third line, and hopefully that helps us get some W's, which it is not really at this case, but there's 2 wins in a row. So we are now 19, 15, 3, and 2. This team is still simulating kind of all over the place. 42 points for Mark Savard in 39 games. We have 43 points. Let's see, the last playoff team in the division has 45 points, so our division is super weak by comparison to the Atlantic division, because if we were in the Atlantic, we would not even be in a playoff spot at this point, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we are very close to being knocked out of a playoff spot. Yeah, I don't really know what I could do with our lines to change it up to get us to win a lot more games. Like, how's the goaltending been? Markkanen is starting to struggle a little bit more. Looks like Jan Lasik is playing like really badly, so maybe we want to look for a new backup goaltender. I could try putting in a different defenseman. Like, is there any defenseman that's really badly minus? Oh, damn, that second pairing. It's that second pairing of Montador and Wint that is not doing good, so we'll try and split them up just to see if that helps anything at all. Yeah, we could try something like that as well. Yeah, I think it was that second pairing that was just screwing up everything, because Brendan Wood is a minus 18. But then you had guys like Branislav Mezzi, who was a plus 10. So, yeah, I think it was that second defensive pairing that might have been screwing us over. So hopefully we just made a line change that's going to help our team win some games down the stretch. Because I kind of want to be a playoff team, but at the same time, it's kind of more just a year that we kind of see how this team is. Maybe like a growth year to see how this team actually develops, and then maybe next season will be even better. Wow, we had a 0-0 tie with the Minnesota Wild. That must have been a really boring game for fans to go to. Like, no goals in a game for an entire 65 minutes. Phoenix fires their head coach, which is kind of crazy because they won the cup, I think, in year 1. We're now 22, 17, 6, and 2, which has us still in second place in our division, so we're still holding on to that playoff spot. I don't even know how we're in a playoff spot still, but whatever. We do have 2 more games played, though, than the Devils and the Islanders, and they're both only 1 and 2 points behind us, so that's a little bit concerning. Mark Savard still leads us in points with 48 points in 47 games. Maybe I want to move around the lines again for the offense. Let's see. Kovalchuk's now up to 18 goals, so he's definitely picked it up a lot. But that top line, ooh, he leaves a minus 21. I don't like that at all. Let's split up Heatley again with this line and put Marcel Hossa to the top line. I might have to start moving Malkin up because Malkin's also a center. But I don't know really what I want to do with that. Like, I could always move Kovalchuk to here. Okay, we're trying to try Malkin, Bergeron, and Kovalchuk. Throw all our top players pretty much on the top line. No offense to Danny Heatley and Mark Savard, but still. Yeah, we'll run with that and see if that helps our offense and helps us win some games. Because I feel like it's probably our offense that's our weak link. Maybe our defense as well. But yeah, we're going to probably have to make some trades in next episode just to try and get this team into the playoffs if we want to get into the playoffs. But if we want to go back into rebuild a bit for another year, that's okay as well. So let's simulate to February the 1st, see how this team does down this stretch. Fahey, was he injured? I don't think so, right? There was somebody injured at some stage. Oh, it was Fahey, okay. I forgot I put Thomas Malik into the lineup. Okay, we'll put Fahey in now, and that should help us out a little bit defensively as well. Brzgalov's been injured in the AHL. We'll go replace player. That sucks because that's a top 9 prospect, I think, of ours. And wow, okay, yeah, this team is definitely falling apart a bit. 23, 26, and 2. I mean, this team is young, so they're going to have their mistakes. But yeah, we're now only 1 point above the Devils, who are outside of a playoff spot with 1 more game played than them. So that's not a great sign. We're lucky we're in a really weak division, though, but for the most part, this division's pretty tight. Like, I mean, if we dropped like 7 games in a row, we would drop a lot down in the standings. At least Mark Savard still seems to be doing pretty good, because I think he might be trade bait at some point. Like, if this team is below 500 at the deadline, maybe we want to trade away Mark Savard, because we're going to have to free up some roster spots on that top 6. And maybe we could get back a really good pick in the draft at that stage. So Let's go to the 15th, see if this team could win some more games, please. Or are we going to just be a non-playoff team? Like, we're getting offered some decent picks already, which is good. Means that we could trade away pretty much anybody on our team because we got some guys with some good value. I believe, yeah, it was Brizgalov on the top line. How's their prospects doing here in the AHL? Nikita Brizgalov's got 27 points so far, so that's good to see from him. Mr. Malone has got 14 points, so that's pretty solid. Zikov, I think, is also a prospect. He's got 28 points, which is kind of surprising. Frolov, who's a top 6 forward prospect, also got 28 points. Breland, who we signed in free agency, is a low top 6. He's got 7 points only. And then Edmonds, who's one of our top defensive prospects, has been absolutely great offensively, but really bad defensively, which makes sense because he's an OFD. 36 points in 48 games. Wall has been pretty solid, 12 points in 48 games. Very excited to see how these guys play at the NHL level at some point. Bykov has been really good as well. This guy's got 38 points in the AHL again. Yeah, this guy's got some pretty good offensive attributes. He might actually be a pretty good player to bring into the NHL at some stage because he is listed as a depth defender. And then I think that's it for that. Goalie-wise, how is Brian Elliott doing? Brian Elliott is doing pretty solid, I would say, but his record is not great. He's got a 900 save percentage. I don't know how good that is in comparison to other goalies in the league. Okay, so let's continue our simulating. After we just checked that little bit of the AHL, there's 2 straight wins. That's nice to see. There's 2 straight losses, though. Yeah, this team is kind of like win 2 games, then lose 2 games, then win 2 games, then lose 2 games, and it's just back and forth, which is not great. But I mean, we are still in a playoff spot. We are in actually the last wildcard spot with 60 points. The Leafs are literally the exact same record as us almost, except for it looks like they have 1 extra tie, if I'm looking at that correctly. Yeah, this team might just barely make the playoffs or might just barely miss. So we might want to make some trades at the deadline. I just don't know what direction we want to do it. So we're going to go to a day before the deadline, and then I'll show you guys the trading block and the draft class, and you guys can decide if we want to go back and rebuild or if we want to try and compete for that last playoff spot, because it's going to be a very tough thing for us to do, because there is a lot better teams than us. So we are now 27, 26, 6-3 rate before the deadline, which has us outside of the playoffs now, as we have 63 points in 62 games, while the Maple Leafs have 65 points in 63 games. We're also, we're competing also with the Devils to get into our last divisional spot. So, yeah, it's going to be a very tough task because the Devils and the Maple Leafs are probably pretty good teams. Like, let's actually take a look at the rosters just for something different and to add a little bit more time to this episode. What do the Devils and the Leafs look like at this stage? Like, we're technically competing with this team, which looks a lot better offensively than us, I think, personally. And defensively, they look better than us to an extent. They do have some weak links, though, and I don't know why they're playing Brendan Shanahan as a defenseman, but whatever floats your boat, New Jersey. And then goaltending-wise, they're still running with Brodeur, who's absolutely insane. And Cristobal Huey, okay. Brian Rafalski's out with an injury, so that might help us in terms of winning games. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are also fighting for one of those last playoff spots, have a very good top line. Dimitra, Morrison, and McGinley, damn. Yeah, they have some pretty good pieces also on this team, but some weak links as well, because there's guys that are like 71 overall playing, which is kind of weird. Interesting team here. Yeah, this Toronto team is way different than it was in year 1. Okay. So let's take a look at what is out there on the trading block as well as the draft class, and you guys could suggest some trades for me to help me maybe get into the playoffs, or if you think we should go back into rebuild for another year, there's always that option as well. So Andy McDonald's on the block. That would be a very good pickup, but he would be probably, like, we'd have to probably give up a first round pick or a top prospect in order to get somebody like him, because he's got a lot of value. Hopefully he goes to free agency so we could pick him up. But if you guys see anything interesting, any good prospects or any good current players, let me know. Maybe we make trades for those. because we do have a lot of assets we could move out if we decide to go the rebuilding route, because there's guys like Brian Leach who probably have decent value because he's probably having a solid season so far. I'll also show you guys actually the player stats after this as well, just so you guys can see who's been producing and who hasn't been. I'm kind of getting a little bit concerned about Danny Heatley because of his plus minus. Like, I don't know if he's a guy that we want to keep around for the entire time. Like, maybe he's one of those guys that we deal away, like the Atlanta Thrashers actually did in real life. So far, I'm not really seeing much on the block, except for like some veterans there is on some teams, but there's also a lot of good young players and some really weird young players. Like guys with AHL top 6 potential, which is a little bit weird, but oh well. Yeah, I think we probably will make some, I feel like I want to go back to the rebuild stage as well, but I don't know if I really, like, I want to get a good, like, foundation for this team to be successful for multiple years, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to be a competitive team yet or not. Because in real life, the Atlanta Thrashers, I think, only made the playoffs one time. So it would make sense to try and be more competitive than that, obviously. We'll probably be more competitive than that easily, but still. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's actually a whole lot of interesting players. Like, Toronto looks like they're trying to not make the playoffs at this stage because they're trying to get rid of a lot of their veterans, which means basically we're just competing with New Jersey if Toronto decides to like fall off and not make the playoffs. And there's that. Okay, let's take a look at also the draft class, just because I'm kind of curious on how this draft is, because there's no created players in this one. So the top player that's supposed to go is a defenseman. That's not a bad option if we wanted to tank, because I mean we do need some defensive prospects. So Curry Houghton might be somebody decent. There's also a center, which we don't really need. There's more defensemen, some wingers. Yeah, this draft class doesn't look super great because there's a top 6 forward supposed to go in the top 10. But you never know. Let's sort by potential, see if there's any low elites, because we have found low elites before that are really good. In my Detroit series, this guy I pinned, low elite center, does not look great still, but whatever. Actually, let me take a look at those 2-bar ones just because I want to see if there's anybody with some good over. Ooh, okay, this guy might be decent. Jeffrey Van Allen. Yeah, we're going to pin Jeffrey Van Allen, because he might be a decent pick for us in a later stage. But yeah, I don't know if this draft class is really worth tanking for. It might be. But yeah, that's going to be something you guys have to decide. Let's also take a look at our player stats so far for the season. Now let's take a look through the edit line screen, just so we can see what lines have been good and what ones haven't been. So Evgeny Malkin's been really good. He's got 52 points in 62 games. He's only a +1, but it's okay. 102 points now in his career. Okay. Bergeron is a -5. He's got 46 points, so the top line seems to be doing some good offense. Kovalchuk's up to 21 goals and 43 points, but he's a -6. So yeah, the top line hasn't been great offensively, but then again, they've been out there most of the time, and they are still a really young top line, which is good. Second line, Marcel Hossa's got 18 points. He's a -6. I don't know if I like that much. -11 though for Mark Savard. He's been putting up a lot of points, but he's been out there for a lot of goals against, and Heatley's been abysmal. Yeah, I don't know if Heatley's coming back or if we trade him away or what. Like, I know Heatley's young, but like literally he's gone from 84 points to 78 points, and all of a sudden he's got only 38 points in 59 games, and he's a -25. Like, he's been out there a lot in terms of goals against. Yeah, I don't know if I like really that, to be honest. Like, his defensive stats aren't horrible. I just don't know why he's so badly minus. Like, I don't think we have him on the PK. I could be wrong with that, though. Kirk Mulpey's been pretty good. He's a +9 with 29 points. Kuznetsov's got 28 points, and he's a +25. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, this youngster is more of a playmaker, not a sniper, but he's still putting up some pretty good numbers. And his +- is actually pretty nice, too. And then Aaron Asham's a +18. So this third line has been actually our best line in terms of keeping the puck out of the net, which I really like. Fourth line wise, Somic's a -9 with 17 points. Avery's got only 12 points and a -8. And Schaefer's a -14 and only has 3 points. I don't know why Schaefer's playing up only this amount of points. Then again, when he played in the NHL a few years ago, he was not great offensively either, so it kind of makes sense. Defensively, Leach has got some decent numbers. He's a +10. Monitor's a -5. We might be taking too many penalty minutes. Yeah, I think it's the penalties. I did sign a bunch of grinders and physical players. Brendan Witt's got over 100 PIMs already as well. Shvela's got a lot. Yeah, I think it's the penalty trouble that we're running into with this team. It might be. We're just taking too many penalties. Let's take a look, actually, at the standings. Because I want to take a look and see if we're the most penalized team in the NHL. Because I think we might be. Just based on all those penalty minutes. Like, if we go to time shorthanded. Never mind. We're not the most penalized team in the NHL. We're up there, though. Like, let's take a look at this part of the player stats screen. Because I want to see the penalty minutes. Yeah, because we have currently 4 guys over 100 penalty minutes. Malkin's about to hit it. Aaron Asham's taking a lot of penalties. Like, we have some guys that don't take a lot of penalties, like Bergeron and Leach. But, yeah, there's a lot of guys that do take a decent amount of PIMs as well, which is not great. And then goaltending-wise, there's our stats as well. And I think that's going to do it, guys, for this episode of our Atlanta Thrashers franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the trade deadline where we decide if we want to go back into rebuilding or if we want to actually try and compete for that last playoff spot that the Toronto Maple Leafs have. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.